Hi, everyone. We'll just give it a minute to let people continue to join, then we'll get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of the Environmental Finance Center Network, welcome to today's webinar on septic to sewer in a changing climate. My name is Owen Volk from the Syracuse University Environmental Finance Center. Before we begin, we're going to go over a few logistics and then we can get started. During the webinar today, everyone will be kept on mute to ensure audio quality. If you have a question, please type it in the GoToWebinar question dialog box anytime throughout the session. We will be saving your questions for a facilitated Q&A session at the end of the presentation. After the webinar, you will receive a follow-up email that includes a link to the recording and other information that you may need. You can also download the slides from today in the Handouts tab in your GoToWebinar control. This webinar has not been submitted for pre-approval of continuing education credits, but eligible attendees will receive a certificate of attendance for their personal record. To receive a certificate for this section, you must attend for the entire session and register and attend individually using your real name and unique email address. Certificates will be sent via email within 30 days of the webinar date. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact smallsystems@syr.edu. Now for a little bit about us. The Environmental Finance Center Network provides training and technical assistance to small water and wastewater systems in all of the U.S. states and territories through our building technical, managerial, and financial capacity programs. If your community or utility needs assistance with drinking water or wastewater system management, please feel free to contact us through our request form, which I will be sharing shortly in the chat. One of the many ways EFCN can support your community or utility is through our free funding application support. Struggling with an infrastructure funding application, falling short on project funding, not sure where to start? EFCN is here to help. Submit a request through the link in the chat to receive tailored support based on your project needs. And on that note, we can get started. I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Danish Kumar, Climate Change Program Manager at the University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center. Welcome, Danish. I will go ahead and hand it over to you.
Owen. Can you see my screen properly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Danish Kumar. I am Program Manager at University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center. We are part of Environmental Finance Center Network. We offer resources, training, and technical assistance for drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems. Some of our flagship programs include Municipal Online Wastewater Training Center and Sustainable Management. As Owen mentioned, that we also have funding application support, which you can go on our website. He'll be sharing the link in the chat. And if you need any technical assistance, you can also go on the same website, click on the Get Help form, and get assistance on any of these topics if you are a small system. And I have my details if you want to reach out to me directly for any technical assistance as well. Webinar outline, we'll start with introduction of septic systems, and then we'll talk about how climate change is impacting septic systems, how we can transition to sewer systems, what are some existing mechanisms, how we can enhance existing systems if there is no sewer nearby, what are some state programs. We won't be able to review all the state programs, but I have put a few state programs which we'll talk about, and then I'll be sharing some resources. And then hopefully we'll have time for some question and answers as well. So septic systems. 1 in 5 US homes rely on septic systems, serving over 21 million households and over 60 million Americans. These are the critical infrastructure beneath our feet for rural communities, tribal lands, and mobile home parks where municipal sewers aren't available or not feasible. This is just a cross section of a septic tank. How it works: it is usually located on a private property. It is regulated by state or local government, and then there are a variety of technologies, types of system. We'll talk about it later in the presentation. But I just want to stress on this point that septic systems are facing increasing risk from climate change, population growth, and aging infrastructure as well. And then, as with any wastewater treatment system, failing systems can contaminate wells, local water bodies, and contribute to nutrient pollution issues, which can have impact on our ecological environment. So let's understand how a septic system works. Water from household goes into a septic tank, as I showed in the earlier image. With the cross section, it uses usually two-stage process. The primary treatment takes place in the septic tank, where solids settle down, and bacteria begin breaking down the waste. Then the water moves to the drain field, where soil does its magic, and secondary treatment takes place in the drain field. Soil microbes complete purification as effluent slowly percolates through it. And when a septic system is functioning properly, it can treat wastewater before it reaches the groundwater. Again, just a cross section of how the water goes from house to the drain field. It goes into the septic tanks where the solid settle, and then it is dispersed into the drain field where the soil which usually is at a depth of 2 to 4 feet, is required for septic system to work properly. And soil, we all know, is a natural biological chemical filter with aerobic properties which can treat this wastewater, and it is really essential for treating this wastewater before it goes into the groundwater. And for that, we need unsaturated soil, which is essential for wastewater treatment. And if a soil becomes saturated due to some reason, it can reduce its treatment potential and can contaminate drinking water. So what are some common septic system configurations? There are most common are like single family systems, which serve individual homes. These are conventional gravity systems with a tank and a drain field. These are aerobic units, and sometimes they are also used as a mound systems where there's high water tables. Then there are community systems, which is shared infrastructure for multiple homes, works in a similar mechanism, but sometimes it is beneficial for economies of scale for maintenance, because the cost for maintenance is shared among different households. And then there are mobile home parks, which are mostly in lower income neighborhoods, communities, and they also utilize these systems they have higher maintenance requirement because they have more water load into it, and these are often aging infrastructure with limited oversight and low cost to pay for it. Some essential maintenance requirements for the septic systems: you need regular inspections. It is recommended to have it every 3 years. Look for signs of failure, wet spots, odor, and you have to monitor your sludge and scum layers in your septic tank. And then pumping is really important. Every 3 to 5 years, depending on the household size and what your load is, you have to have your septic tank pumped and keep a schedule of that and keep the record of it. And then you have to have some certain daily practices to avoid flushing non-biodegradable items and keep chemicals out of the drains as well. Just an image from Septic Smart Week, which EPA is celebrating from 15 to 19 September 2025. There are a lot of resources out there on this website from EPA, which you can share within your communities or go through and read about it, like not parking on a drain field or getting the trees away from the septic tanks, because it might clog your septic tank as well, and then treat your water properly before it meets the groundwater, and keep your drinking water wells clean. Some of the challenges I want to mention about mobile home parks: they have higher density pressures. Mobile home parks typically place more homes per acre, so they have higher density and higher water load as well. And then sometimes there is divided responsibility and confusion around that, that who is going to maintain that wastewater system or septic systems. Either it's park owner or the community itself, and then they also have limited resources as they are in low income neighborhoods, so they face limited resources. Some common failure mechanisms they have, there are reduced retention times, which lead to insufficient treatment capacity. There is hydraulic overload as well. For example, in mobile home parks, where a lot of uh, households share the same system. Sometimes if chemical disruptions can occur as well, and then the drain field can clog as well. And these could be because of a lot of factors, like human factor, poor maintenance, and parking on septic fields. Sometimes there are structural issues that the system is really old, is not able to treat water well. And then sometimes there are geological factors. We'll talk about that in detail. It could be due to the climate or seasonal variability in water table, and low soil permeability, which can increase these issues as well. Time for the poll.
Give it another 15 seconds. Okay, so for the poll, 31% said yes, multiple cases of septic system failures in their area. 41% said occasional issues. 19% said not aware of any failures, and 10% said they are not sure.
Okay, it's quite a variety of results that we have got. Thank you, Owen, for doing the poll and sharing the results. Let's move on. Yeah, let's talk about environmental and public health risk from the failure in the septic systems. There could be groundwater contamination. Failed system allowed untreated effluent to reach groundwater, and it can introduce pathogens, nitrates, and other contaminants to drinking water resources.
Can you relaunch your slides? It's showing just as the
Oh, sorry.
as the presentation. No, it's okay.
Does it work? Is it working fine?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Groundwater contamination, and then it can also lead to waterborne pathogens. It can also impact your surface water if it directly runs off to your surface water. It can increase nitrate contamination, disease transmission as well. A lot of research has been done around communities which use septic systems. There have been E. coli found in those communities and in their drinking water resources as well. And direct exposure is hazardous as well because of these breakouts. Time for another poll.
Again, we'll give it another 15 seconds. Okay, so results for the poll. 12% said every 1 to 2 years, 84% said every 3 to 5 years, 2% said only when problems occur, and 3% were not sure.
Okay, so thank you, Owen, for sharing the results. I think we are on the right track. It should be every 3 to 5 years at least 3 to 5 years. So yeah, thank you for getting it correct.
Can you
Let's start.
launch the slides again? It keeps kicking back. Okay, perfect.
Is it working now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's talk about climate change. Climate change threats to septic systems. We all have seen our insurance premiums go for our homes. Sometimes our homes get flooded, or they are impacted by extreme weather events throughout the US. It is either too hot or too dry, or it just rains a lot. So these are just the impacts of climate change that we are facing, and these companies are pricing those into the insurance premiums that we all pay. So we can see in the figure that annual temperatures are increasing, the number of warm nights throughout the US is increasing, the annual precipitation is increasing as well throughout almost all the regions in the US, and there is occurrences of heavy precipitation and sea level rise in the US as well. So what it does is, like, for example, if we talk about sea level rise, coastal communities face rising groundwater tables, and then what it happens is, like, it does saltwater intrusion, which damages bacterial communities and also reduce separation between the drain fields and the groundwater. So it is not getting enough time and treatment to go into the groundwater, and it's usually less treated and mixes with the groundwater, and it can also uh, go towards flooding and permanent inundation of low-lying systems. Then there is again a map of increased flooding occurrences or riverine flooding risk. We see that the precipitation is increasing throughout the US, or the annual rainfall events are also increasing, so which can often lead to riverine flooding. And it is usually more frequent and intense these days, and which can overwhelm the systems, as well as it can also saturate the soils and prevent proper filtration. We talked about increased precipitation and sea level rise, which leads to rising water tables and elevate the groundwater levels and reduce the essential unsaturated soil. It gets saturated, which reduces its treatment capacity. And then sometimes there are extended droughts as well, which shrink the soil and create a crack in that, and which can create a preferential flow in the soil, allowing effluent to bypass the treatment zone. That is why the soil saturation is really, really important, because it acts as a biochemical filter, and it contains a lot of cell which treats the water. And as the vertical separation between the groundwater and the drain field decreases, it reduces the capacity to treat the water as well. And just a graphic to show how it is working and how it is impacting the septic system capacity. Water goes to the septic tank. We all know that if there's increased flooding, the soil gets saturated, and then there's also an impact of rising groundwater table if the community is in a sea level rise zone. So it can reduce treatment capacity significantly, and system saturation can lead to permanent failure. A lot of areas like Chesapeake Bay, a critical area, which is considered as 1,000 feet of tidal waters as a critical zone. Also, areas on the lakes and around the rivers are also considered as a critical area. These areas also face the same issues that, which is increase in tidal flooding or up-level flooding, which can increase the soil saturation and reduce the treatment capacity of the system. And we usually think that usually 3 to 5 feet or 2 to 5 feet of depth is enough for the drain field to treat the wastewater coming in from the septic tank. But a lot of counties, a lot of communities, local governments around the US are restricting it, that it should be more than 3 feet because of the sea level rise that is happening around, or increasing water tables that is happening around the US. Owen, can you please share the poll, please?
poll is launched. Okay, another 15 seconds. Okay, so the results for the poll, 63% said flooding and heavy rainfall is the greatest climate-related risk to their septic systems. 21% said sea level rise, 10% said drought or soil shrinkage, and 6% are not sure.
Okay, thank you so much, Owen, for sharing the results. All the slides working fine?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think flooding and heavy rainfall across the US is really a major concern for these septic systems. We'll discuss how we can transition or make or improve these systems better. So now we'll talk about transitioning to sewer systems. Let's first talk about when to transition a septic system to a sewer system. A lot of times there are repeated system failures. Communities are experiencing cumulative or consisting system failures that require multiple repairs. So it is better to transition to a septic system, to a sewer system if it's nearby. The increase in climate events, as we saw that a lot of people are facing concerns with flooding and heavy rainfall, it can also be a good starting point to think about connecting to a sewer system which is existing and adapt yourself against these climate threats. And then if there are cases of drinking water contamination in your neighborhood or in your community, it is also good to take some steps to improve your system or connect it to an existing sewer. And then community growth, if your community is increasing or the population around your community is increasing, it is no longer able to sustain the load. It is best to connect to an existing sewer system as well. As we talked about, some decision factors would be population density and growth. If there's a high density, there's the cost for connecting to a sewer system would be lower. So it will justify the infrastructure investment as well. Financial capacity, because a lot of the programs which offer connecting to an existing sewer or extending the sewer, they talk about financial capacity of your own community or your own system, and then they are supplemented through a grant or loan from the state or local government. And then environmental conditions, are you able to sustain the existing system, or it is really essential to transition to existing sewage system due to poor soils, high water table, and proximity to sensitive waters, as we discussed earlier. And then total maximum daily load requirements, which are changing depending on where you are located, and they are becoming stringent as well. And so each community solution would be unique to their circumstances where they fall. So the first thing, I think the most easiest would be to connect to an existing system. If it's really close to your house or to an existing septic system, it will be the most cost effective, I would say. So this has the potential advantage of having economy of scale. Oftentimes it is really cheaper to make connection to a sewer system that is up and that is nearby, opposed to installing a new on-site system. But the potential con here is that the treatment plant downstream of this connection may not have the adequate capacity. It might be running at capacity. It might not be able to take new customers to accommodate these septic properties within the sewer service areas. And who pays for that? Usually it's existing user. Sometimes there are government programs that help offset some part of the cost or provide some loan for that. And then the next is a build or extend conventional sewer to a centralized facility. It is again, the pros are economies of scale. The first is to build an entire new wastewater system with sewers and treatment plant, or you can extend sewers to an area that did not have a sewer nearby before. But it can also lead to new development, which the research has found if there is a existing sewer being extended, the new development can occur, but can also offset some of the cost for that as well. And extending sewer is often coupled with new development. As I mentioned, there was some study done in San Francisco where they found that it increased the new development, but it can also be in a flood-prone zone, which can have its own pros and cons. And who pays for it? Again, it can be paid via the new development or the existing users or the government programs as well. So the third option here is to build alternative sewer to centralized system. So an example of how this could work is the solid materials from a property sewage is collected on site, but the effluent, the part that is normally treated by the soil underneath the property, is then transported in a small sewer system than the usual, because it doesn't have to transport those solids. So it's more cost effective, and it can be transported to some small treatment community facility as well. It has overall cost savings, but it requires some operator trainings, which would be running that small treatment facilities. And who pays for it? Again, it depends on the locality where you are located. Sometimes it could be existing user, or sometimes the cost could be offset by the government programs. We'll go through some of the government programs as well. Time for another poll.
Give it another 15 seconds. Okay, so results for the poll. 54% said public health protection is a benefit that they consider most important. 30% said environmental protection. 13% said long-term cost stability, and 3% said property value increase.
Thank you, Owen, for sharing the results. Is my screen working properly?
It is currently frozen for me on the poll. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the results. I think these all aspects of are the benefits of sewer connection are really important. Public health connection protection is really, really important. And we have most people suggesting that as well. And then environmental protection, and then it sometimes does increase the property values as well.
Just give me 1 moment. We're having an issue here with the, let's see.
All good.
Currently stuck on the poll slide, and I'm just gonna take back the, give me 1 moment. I'm gonna take back the presenter and then I'll give it right back to you just to try to get it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Try sharing your slides again, just really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're back with you.
Is it working?
Yes, we're back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, centralized sewer systems and why they are important. They are professionally managed by trained operators. There is a consistent performance, which is monitored through regular testing, and you are able to, through these testing and stringent requirements of your permit, you are able to meet these the strict environmental standards, which are changing all around the US. And again, it provides you economies of scale for larger population or more connections. It is usually more effective with areas with 4 homes per acre, but again, it changes from where you are located, if how dense it is, or what's topography is, and if there is existing lines around your area as well. The typical system capacity for the centralized sewer system is usually 50,000 gallons per day, and these are like modern. Yeah.
Where we've run into the issue again with the slides aren't advancing.
Oh,
if you just wanted to try.
are they working now?
Okay, yeah, we're back to working. Thank you.
Sorry for that. Yeah, and these are like modern treatment plants which can achieve removal rates of almost 95% for BOD and pathogens with advanced nutrient capability as a removal capabilities as well. Again, some advantages of these centralized sewer system: they eliminate individual maintenance responsibilities, improve environmental protection with advanced treatment. They can probably increase property values by 5 to 10% on average as well. It provides a long-term stability through shared infrastructure and supports future community growth and development as well. Of course, it should not be in a flood-prone or sea level rise zone as well. Some challenges, it is usually capital intensive. It requires higher cost per connection, which can run from $3,000 to $10,000 or sometimes upwards of that as well. There's usually ongoing monthly fees associated with each household as well, which can be from $30 to sometimes $100 as well if it's a small community and there are a low number of customers. It requires extensive construction, which can last from 6 to 18 months. Requires operation and maintenance municipal capacity, and then installation cost can increase with distance from the existing infrastructure. So it depends on how far away you are from an existing system as well. Otherwise, you can think about the alternatives that we shared as well. So, what are some issues that regulators or communities or counties face in septic to sewer transition as well, which are around funding application hurdles? It requires extensive preliminary design for compliance. The land value and easement cost can increase the project expenses as well. Sometimes there is underground infrastructure, and we have to coordinate with the utilities, which can complicate the installation and increase the timelines of that. Sometimes there are also some material procurement issues as well, and then restrictions on the roads right of way can hinder easement acquisition, which can again lead to the increase in timelines for the construction. Sometimes also residents are reluctant to grant easement, which can lead to project redesign of alignment where the pipeline is going to go through, and which can increase the project cost as well. So now let's talk about like upgrading existing system. We talked about connecting to the sewer, but if it's not feasible to connect to an existing sewer or a nearby treatment facility, you can upgrade your on-site system, which is confined to usually a single property. So you have to bear the cost of that, but it can be still vulnerable to climate impact. So you have to take care of a lot of those factors as well. And the soil is ultimately because provides the treatment capacity, so it is still vulnerable to sea level rise. And so if you upgrade it, it might be less so than maybe when it was installed, but it'll still be vulnerable to sea level rise as well. Then there is option to build alternative sewer to cluster treatment system. Instead of having a centralized treatment system at the end, you would have essentially what would be a large septic tank for multiple properties that is offsite from each individual one. EVA usually calls it a cluster septic system. This still provides some of the cost savings, and it doesn't require a treatment facility for operators as well. But because it is still in many ways a septic tank, it is vulnerable to sea level rise and depend on the soil for the treatment capacity. It will provide you overall cost savings, but you might be paying for the as an existing user, or sometimes there are government programs to offset the cost. This is the example of cluster system. It usually serves multiple property, typically 200 homes. We can see that in the image that all the treatment from that 4 homes going into the single component, and then it is dispersed into a larger, bigger drain field. It provides better treatment than individual septic systems, and then you can also lower the cost than centralized sewer systems, also lower your maintenance cost as well. A lot of times its capacity runs from 1,500 to 30,000 gallons, and it is usually ideal for small villages and lakefront communities. Some benefits of that lower per home cost than centralized system. It provides you better treatment than individual septic systems. You are sharing maintenance cost across multiple properties, which is, I think, a really huge benefit of it. And then you have flexibility in siting and design to match with local conditions. And there are some challenges as well, because it has increased water load. It's going to have ongoing maintenance needs, which depend on from quarterly to monthly inspections. It might have more complex operation than individual system, and then potential higher cost if it is not managed properly, or if the duties are not assigned properly, and it is depending on some jurisdiction as well. Another solution of that is raised mounted and elevated systems. These are additional elevation, protects the drain field from recurrent flooding events and provides more soil through which effluent can travel, and home pre-treatment individual septic tanks before pumping effluent to a community treatment system. It can also lower your collection cost with small diameter pipes, and most common approach for retrofitting existing developments. And they are installed completely above the ground and are therefore protected from sea level rise. And again, recirculating the sand filter system, it requires a pumping tank which trickles water through the sand filter septic system. It has a layer of sand and gravel as well, and water needs to be pumped to the raised mound bed to trickle down. And effluent is pumped through the pipes, and they offer high nutrient removal, but are more expensive than the conventional septic systems. I just wanted to show you one example of all these different systems working in combination with one another. The first image, the first on the number first on the left-hand side is decentralized individual on-site treatment system with a septic tank and a drain field. The second one is decentralized commercial on-site cluster system. It is attached to a shopping center with multiple shops, and then the water is coming in from those different facilities into a septic tank and then treated and then dispersed onto a drain field. Then on the lower right side, it's a decentralized system again, offsite cluster system, water coming in from multiple homes and apartment buildings, going into a treatment unit and then draining out in the field. And then the basic centralized sewer system water goes from all these homes and apartments and schools to a centralized sewer facility, which is usually mechanically operated, and then it goes into the treated and then it's discharged. So how do you plan for successful transition? You have to do some technical assessment of, do some feasibility study and engineering analysis to identify most appropriate solution for specific site conditions, because sometimes there might not be existing sewer, or sometimes that might be the best option available if it's really runs close to your community. Community engagement is really big part and important part of that. You have to build your trust with your residents and stakeholders, and you will be needing your support. And it is always essential and best to be transparent with the communication about the benefits, timelines, and financial and cost implications of that new transfer mechanism or facility. And then financing strategies, how are you going to pay for that? Do you have a blended funding approach utilizing grants, low interest loans, and resident contributions when appropriate? And then long-term operation and maintenance planning, who is going to take care of these new systems with clear responsibility assignments and revenue mechanisms, because you can't do maintenance if you don't have any revenue mechanisms in place. And one thing I'd like to stress on is effective community engagement. It is essential to use plain language, address concern about cost and disruption directly, and to emphasize on the benefits to health, property values, and quality of life. For another poll, and I think that will be the last one. Thank you, Owen, for doing that.
No problem, it's being launched. Okay, we're just gonna give it 5 more seconds. Okay, so for the final poll, 61% of people said that the biggest barrier transitioning from septic to sewer is cost and affordability. 5% said regulatory approval, 22% said lack of infrastructure capacity, and 11% said community opposition or awareness.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the results. I think cost affordability is really one of the big and major concerns, and it should be addressed before anything goes into place or any planning is done before. You have to be transparent with your community about that. And then regulatory approval and infrastructure capacity just becomes part of the planning process and how it is done. So let's talk about some of the state programs. Unfortunately, we won't be able to cover like all states here, but I just want to highlight some state programs and some state specific database. Like there are, I think, only 3 states that I found which manage the septic system database at a state level. Other states do it at a county or local level as well, but these are some state specific databases which you might want to have a look on what is working for them, what is not working. It just tells you, it is really essential to monitor these because it tells you where septic systems are working, where they are lacking, and things like that. So there are 3 state programs, as I mentioned, in Virginia, Florida, and Minnesota. Some lessons from Virginia is that in data tracking works, Virginia has tracked maintenance and pump out records since 2011, which allows the analysis of long-term trends, and then targeted requirement helps as well. There is annual inspection and 5-year pump out mandates in Virginia, especially in the Chesapeake Bay conservation areas, which reduce emergency failures. It has a dedicated oversight committee. Virginia created a centralized office in the Department of Health to oversee septic management and offer technical assistance. Then they also did some climate stress and site analysis, which showed that heavy rainfall and flooding increase system issues over time, not immediately, because of problems don't build up over time. If your system is maintained properly, it might be less impacted by these climate impacts. And regulation is alone is not just enough. There are again climate-related stresses that still threaten these systems and which require long-term solutions as well. Speaking of long-term solutions, I just wanted to show examples from Delaware. They have really good programs on septic to sewer transition. They run a septic rehabilitation grant program as well to help low-income homeowners replace failing systems or connect to municipal sewers. There are grants available to cover site evaluation, design, permits, construction, and the cost of connection or system for central sewer transition. They also they only have 3 counties, so they have a community septic elimination program as well in those specific countries, which also works to convert clusters of homes or subdivisions to a sewer system. I just want to just show what their approach is. on how these things go through. Town passes the resolution for county sewer system review. The county presents options for town or ordinance to form a sewer district. Then it gets approved, and then county engineering presents those requests to county council. Then it goes to the next steps of engineering development drawings and environmental documents. And then there is a funding application process as well through the state fund, and the county receives and accepts binding commitment letter for the loan from that community. Some examples from Florida. Again, it's state run programs along with in some counties as well, which have some sensitive marine environments. So they have a targeted approach to protect that. And they include hybrid system, both gravity and low pressure collection technologies. And they also integrate funding from state revolving fund, county taxes, which is key for affordability in those areas. And then they also clearly communicate with their communities for stakeholder buy-in and regulatory timetables, which ensure its timely completion. California, there are multiple neighborhoods which have transitioned from individual septic system to public sewer. I was talking about a research as well that has found that having existing or new development of sewer system can lead to increase in property values as well as increase in new development as well. And in California, each area project paid the construction and connection cost, making conversion no cost for many homeowners, which meant that eligibility. And then they did some proactive outreach in those areas, so ensuring that there are no hindrances in implementation of those projects. New York also has a targeted approach of priority water bodies, reimbursing up to half the cost of up to almost $10,000 for failing septic systems near lakes, rivers. And then they had an owner-driven application inspection process, which was tied to or capped at geographic locations with no direct income cap. And they targeted those scarce funds to address these water quality effects efficiently. Some other state programs, a lot of SRF state revolving loan fund programs also incorporate funding, some funding for community septic systems as well, which provides low interest loans for septic repair, replacement, and sewer connection. Same is the approach in Massachusetts as well, where they provide funding for local septic management plan and provide financing to help homeowners upgrade the systems. So some key takeaways is that, especially for the states, is proactive monitoring is really important. Regular inspection programs focusing on high-risk communities, which are near critical zones before failure occurs. And then education campaigns are also really, really important. As I mentioned, the EPA is having a Septic Smart Week. A lot of resources are available for outreach on the website. You can go on their website and use those resources in your communities, explaining how these systems work, some essential maintenance requirements, some warning signs, and proper usage practices for these septic systems as well. Climate adaptation, we know it's happening, and we all are aware that it is going to impact our systems as well. So it is important to incorporate that into our planning process and community planning to improve long-term resilience. And then financial assistance, as we saw in different states, there are various variety of programs, some targeted, some open-ended, and provide low-interest loans and cost-sharing initiatives to help these vulnerable communities upgrade their failing infrastructure. I just wanted to share some resources. These are all these resources are linked. So you can click on any of these resources. All are from EPA. They have different details on septic system types, what are some care and maintenance requirements, or to do things for these septic systems. There are some EPA webinars on septic systems as well. A lot of frequently asked questions are on there. So if you have any questions in future or you are confused about any of these stuff, you can go into their website. It is again linked here. You can click on this and see it. It will be probably on there as well. And then there are some state-specific information on funding for septic systems as well. So conclusion, I think we all know septic systems are vulnerable to coastal flooding, sea level rise, and heavy precipitation, which are increasing septic failures. We saw that with how Virginia did and how they are implementing their data collection and monitoring, which are really essential to track failures and enable better planning and risk assessment. Sewer connection or sewer conversion can be a solution, but it's not the end of the world. So you can upgrade your own systems as well to some specific sand filters if it works in your area or in your community. But it be a careful land use approach to avoid promoting development in the flood-prone areas. Equity and affordability are also critical. We saw that cost is a major component to it. So grants, loans, programs, they all help to ensure that low-income communities are not left behind. Some of these states also have a technical assistance programs. We also provide some technical assistance as well in accessing funding mechanisms and to support long-term resilience. And then long-term risk management is really essential, like routine maintenance, reduce emergency, but climate-related risk are increasing these failures and require systematic and proactive solutions. So I think that's it from my side. If you have any questions, and if you want to reach out, you can reach out to me via email.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We do have a long list of questions. We will try to get through as many of these as we can. Just to know, we might go a little over. If we do and people need to leave, that's okay. You will be getting a video recording in the follow-up email. So the first question that we got was, why are mobile homes more maintenance intensive than any other system?
I think it leads to, because they most of the times share their septic system with another household on the plot. So they are pretty dense, and they have depends on how they are designed and maintained, but they have lower drain field area as well, which makes it difficult to treat the water. And sometimes if both the households or three of the households are using all their appliances at the same time, it can increase the water going into the drain field. And then it can also sometimes limit the capacity of a septic tank as well, and water can back up into the houses, which we have heard cases of that as well. So that's why they are more prone to these kind of stuff, like failures of septic systems.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question we had, someone was wondering if there was a place they could get the studies that showed the contamination earlier on when you were talking.
So there are a lot of research papers out there. If you go on any website, I would prefer Google Scholar. If you live in an area, I recently found few done in Maryland, done in Virginia. There were a few done in California as well. So a lot of state agencies and universities do that research frequently through the funding from different state and federal agencies like EPA. So there are a lot of research papers out there, and you can just search of any, like go onto Google or Google Scholar. There's a website. You can find that study there and just search with keywords septic system failures and health impacts. Whatever region you are in, it will probably give you up something.
Okay, awesome. Next question that we had was, how close to the sewer would a community have to be, in your opinion?
As close as possible, because as you increase move away from a sewer system, the cost of pipelines, cost of doing the digging and then coordinating with the easements and right of way is going to increase as well. So the more closer you are, the more the lower the cost would be. We have seen the cost run from like $8,000 to $15,000 per connection, depends on where you are located, but that's the usual trend that we have seen. It's going to cost per connection to each household that's what we have seen, but it again varies from like what terrain you are in. Do they have to like do a lot of digging in that area to lay the pipes or lay the groundwork? So it again depends, varies from area to area as well.
Okay, so the next question we had was someone was wondering, are small package plants considered specialized systems?
They, mm, they can be considered, depends on what the use cases and how they are built and what their treatment capacity is and how they are treating water. If it is meeting those local requirements, it can be considered. So it again, it's really location specific and what are the current regulations in that area. So if it's a package plan, it could, I think it would work to meet those requirements as well.
Okay, so the next question, someone was curious why stimulation of new developments by building or extending conventional sewers to a centralized facility is considered a con.
So yeah, I think I missed that point, because if an area is already prone to a flooding or prone to sea level rise, having new development, it's gonna be again maybe not issue directly in that moment, but it's gonna be an issue in future as well, because it's gonna cause issue with the submersion of like those properties or have flooding in those areas. So it was just for to have it was pros for or cons for the areas in which there is already a threat of flooding or sea level rise.
Okay, so the next question that we had, someone was wondering if you could give a differentiation between existing system and centralized facility.
I think it's existing systems are when I was talking about existing system, is like there is an existing pipeline going through your community or existing system in your community, which is a centralized sewer facility, like water from other homes goes into that and you are not connected to it. So what I meant was you can get connected to an existing sewer facility which is treating water of other households in your neighborhood or in your town or in your city. So that's when I'm I think, yeah, that's what I meant when I said existing or uh, existing sewer facility or existing sewer system.
Okay, so someone was curious about if you had any suggestions on grant opportunities for converting neighborhoods from septic to conventional sewers.
There are a lot of opportunities or low rate loans available through different programs. Some of them are linked to state revolving funds. Some states run separate programs as well. It again depends on which state or which county you are in. Some counties also have those conversion programs. As I mentioned, county in Delaware, they have the specific conversion programs and goals attached to it as well. So you can go onto your county or state website. I've also in the resources shared a link for funding mechanisms where there are a list of all these, almost all the states, and if there is any specific programs related to septic systems and their funding mechanisms, it is mentioned in there as well. So you can go onto the EPA website and find what particular program is running in your state and what might work for you.
Okay, thanks for that. The next question that we had is, sorry, okay, someone was wondering what we do with septics that are nowhere near centralized sewers. So this person in their state aren't have that issue. So we're curious what to do for that.
Yeah, if there is no centralized sewer, then you can only thing you have to do you can do is like update your existing sewer to a raised mount system, like we mentioned, or elevated system, or you can, if you want to upgrade it more, you can also upgrade it to a sand filter system, which can also it works with the same system, but it'll have a extra component to it, which is a pumping tank. Water from your septic tank would go into that pumping tank, and then it will be pumped and filtered through that sand filter system, which is again is raised mount or elevated system, and then water trickles down, and you'd be good for a good amount of time. So it again, it's going to be a little costly depends on where you are located and how big your system want. But if you don't have an existing sewer nearby, you can upgrade to raised mount elevated system or circulated sand filter system.
Okay, fantastic. We had a couple questions that are pretty similar, so I'm going to lump them together. People are wondering where local governments are finding the funding to provide no or low cost upgrades to communities.
So depends on where you are located. Sometimes there are state programs attached to it. Sometimes they have county specific programs, and then funding trickles down through that. So it depends where you are located. Every state has a different kind of program, and they sometimes have a targeted approach as well. So they first target the areas which are close to critical zones like rivers, lakes, and like high, like Chesapeake Bay conservation areas. So it depends on where you are located, and most of the times the money usually comes either from state or the federal government.
Okay, thank you. We have just a few more questions to get through. Someone was wondering, are aging sewers and wastewater treatment plants located close to surface waters less vulnerable to climate change than on-site systems?
That's a tricky question, I would say. If it's located close to a flooding, depends how it is, how old it is, and how well maintained it is. If it's well maintained, then obviously the septic system would work fine, and it again all trickles down to maintenance, how well maintained it is. So yeah, it will vary from place to place on and how they are maintaining that system.
Okay, thank you. 3 more questions. So the next one was, are there any methods for independent septic effluent that can be treated through such that it can be recycled for drinking water use?
I think there are technologies, but I don't want to speak without knowing much about that. So yeah, there are technologies out there, but I'm not sure they are fit for drinking water use.
Okay, fantastic. And we have one more. Sorry, I duplicated it. Why would a municipality give its existing capacity to a community facing SLR when it likely needs to reserve that capacity for relocating those very communities?
So relocating is usually the last resort. That community does is depends on how big the impact is from. It's going to be from sea level rise. If it's already facing tidal flooding really continuously, it's possible to relocate. But if it's like future impact, and the community is not willing to relocate, or it's difficult for the big community to relocate, it might be a better idea to have a centralized sewer facility. And again, it's very location specific, but all these pros and cons can be mashed together, because relocating, I don't think so communities would be willing to do that. But if the sea level rise is really high and there are flooding issues, then that would be the best possible option, I guess.
Okay, fantastic. I think with that, we can wrap up. So a huge thank you to Dinesh for sharing his expertise with us today. Following this webinar, you will receive a follow-up email with the slides from today and a link to the recording. We also ask that you complete the webinar evaluation following the webinar so that you can let us know your thoughts on today's session, as it helps us plan for future webinars on topics that are important to you. Thank you again, and we hope to see you at future EFCN events.
Thank you so much, Owen.